Hi everybody, how you doing? My name is Jane Power and we want to welcome you to The Called. We are in my sunroom today because we were just about ready to start filming and the power went out. So we are filming this show with Caleb's iPhone. So today we have a guest and her name is, we're going to call her Margie T. There she is, right there. I'm just going to read you a little bit about Margie. So Margie is a blogger that uses her platform to empower others with tools to be able to understand what is going on in our world and to be able to make good decisions that aren't based on fear. She's got 3 blog spots. One of them is called the Lyme Sentinel, blogspot.com, where she talks about Lyme disease. The next one is Food Freedom's Revolution .blogspot.com. What's that one about, Margie?
That's about growing your own food and having
kind of like homesteading,
food security, politics of food.
Oh, that's a good topic. Okay, and then the last one is conspiracyanalyst.blogspot.com. And and I think we know what that's about. And we wonder if that's the reason why the power went off.
That's it.
So, welcome.
Thank
We finally got you here.
Yes.
We finally got you here.
It's exciting.
So, where do we want to start? Well, this show is about passions, you know, or our callings in life. So, what brought you to doing blogs?
Well, I used to not be socially aware of much, and then I got sick back in 1989. And
with what?
Well, they diagnosed it as chronic fatigue syndrome, or depression, or I just need to get more hobbies, and I would be okay.
Oh, that's what they said. You
Yes.
need more hobbies. Okay.
But I kept getting more and more neurological symptoms. And so finally, after 8 years, I diagnosed myself with Lyme disease and went to a Lyme specialist. And she tested me, but I was negative. But she treated me anyway, which should be done on a clinical diagnosis, like your history, where you live, and your symptoms, because the testing for Lyme disease is very inaccurate.
That's what I've heard.
Right. So the doctor treated me for 3 months with doxycycline and tested me again.
Which is the standard course of treatment, right?
Right. And tested me again, and I was positive. I was negative at first.
Negative. Well, it's kind of like what's happening
now.
now.
And the reasoning they say behind that might be because the sickest people have so many antibodies tied up with the germs, this Borrelia spirochetes, that there's none left over to test.
Oh.
Because they're in immune complexes, they're tied together. So after you start treating them, the theory is that there's some now antibodies floating around that can be measured because you've killed off some of the bugs that they were tied to.
Okay.
So I was treated, on and off for a long time, and the first SPECT scan they did on me, which measures the blood flow to the brain, said that I was equal to Alzheimer's.
Really? Wow, that must have been scary.
Yeah. But we knew it wasn't. We knew it was, and that is one of the causes, they believe, of Alzheimer's is Lyme disease, because they found in Alzheimer brain autopsies that they're riddled with oral spirochetes and Lyme spirochetes.
Wow.
There was one study done with 14 Alzheimer brains and 13 controls. All 14 Alzheimer brains had the spirochetes and the controls had none.
Really?
So, it's been validated by other researchers.
Right.
So anyway, at first I lost all my spiritual connection. I couldn't even think. I was like Alzheimer's. I couldn't follow a conversation. I couldn't read a paragraph and remember the beginning of it. And so finally, as I was treated and
I must have had that my whole life, for crying out loud.
finally, as I started getting better, the spiritual feelings started to come back, and I started getting better, and it was like my brain was rewiring. And it was almost like I was starting to get more intuition, and I was able to write better. And I just had this push to find out why there was so much misdiagnosis with Lyme, and why doctors were losing their licenses to practice medicine for treating chronic Lyme with long-term antibiotics when needed. And, I would go to a lot of the protests and some of the hearings that the doctors were involved with to support them. Oops, folks, I turned it on. Deep River.
I hope that's not your phone.
Sorry about that.
All right, so why were the doctors losing their licenses?
Well, there's different theories about that. Some people think that a good biowarfare agent would disable a nation. It would pass through the population, being ignored, being called depression, or malingering,
or arthritis.
Or something that has no cure. All these autoimmune diseases.
Right, that they just keep putting the bandages on.
Right, a lot of autoimmune disease, Parkinson's, ALS has Lyme involvement often, and so people say, well, what would the point of that be? But if a disease if the cause is undiagnosed, and you just give them symptomatic treatments, the drug companies really make millions because you have stomach problems, head problems, muscle problems, heart problems, all from Lyme disease, and a lot of the co-infections that go along with it, like babesiosis, which is a malaria-like illness, and mycoplasma, ehrlichiosis. There's another one, Bartonella. That's a big one.
Bartonella.
And they're not being tested for.
Huh.
So anyway, that's what started me questioning things. Then one of my relatives was going to go to college at Northeastern in Boston. And when we would go to visit, I would notice that Gorbachev was there all the time. And so I would ask the person, why is Gorbachev here all the time? He would have his limousine out in the courtyard, and there'd be motorcycle guards around it, and the car was running, and he'd be in giving a lecture. And they just thought I was silly, So after about a year, the person wrote to me and said, he is here a lot, Gorbachev is, I wonder why. So I started looking him up online, and I found the Gorbachev Foundation. So I wrote to them, and I said, why is Gorbachev at Northeastern all the time, and what does he think of world government? And so they wrote back and said, well, he's at Northeastern all the time because that's the new headquarters of the Gorbachev Foundation.
What is the Gorbachev Foundation? What do they do?
Well, it's a globalist movement, basically, and an environmental movement. Gorbachev said that the environment is the cornerstone of the New World Order. Now, to some people that can mean we need to change things because the environment's so bad, but it could also mean that it's the fear-inducing factor in order to get people to accept loss of sovereignty and world government. And so he also said to the Politburo, he says, gentlemen, comrades, be not dismayed with all this talk of perestroika and democracy. It's for outward appearances only. Our aim is to disarm the Americans and let them fall asleep. And then he says, I'm a convinced communist and never turn off that road.
When did he give that speech?
In the
and
70s, I believe, to the Politburo.
Wow.
That's what, that was in another book that I got that from.
Yeah.
And then he goes out to the Presidio, which was a military base in California. And as I remember, he was helping us to disarm over here. Wow. As kind of a global peace type of a thing. supposedly, I guess they were doing it other places too. I don't know.
Well, we try to get other places to disarm too.
Yeah, right. So then that started me thinking. So I started researching that more, and that tied into extreme environmentalism, and
And the rabbit hole begins.
yeah, right. So
He said that was in the 70s he was done the speeches, basically.
that's what I think I
interesting,
wrote in an article. Yeah. That's one thing I can't remember well is
Yeah.
dates on the spur of the moment.
And your son, you said, went to Northeastern.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that started me on everything, and then I got in connection with this guy online his main goal was to teach the tactics of deception and control, and that got me thinking, well, that's the most important thing that we need to know, like you
Right.
said in the introduction,
Right.
because if they're deceiving us for a reason, so if we understand the tactics of how they do that,
We don't fall prey.
right,
And then we don't have to walk around being fearful.
right, and we can make better decisions,
Right.
hopefully, and based on that, and
So
then,
can you give us some examples of how these things could help us? Or like,
well, like a list of
Yeah,
different things.
yeah, definitely.
Well, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget.
Okay.
Well, of course, divide and conquer. They're
Oh,
doing that now,
yeah.
right?
Always.
Yeah, and repetition. They drum into you things over and over and over again, and you can believe the biggest lie just through having something
Well, as we
repeated
can
to
see,
you.
It's repeated
That's what-
constantly.
That's what
Yeah.
Trump's been doing. Well, that's what both of them been doing.
Some of the things now is it's for your safety. We're all in this together. What else? There's more. For
There's
just
so-
the
there's so
COVID
many.
thing.
They've been doing, the thing that I was having this discussion with somebody about that, and I was saying,
Speak loudly.
speak loudly.
We have to speak
Yeah.
loudly
Bring the
because
voices up.
we're being.
Um,
We only have this little cell phone here. We're not
This is
talking
true.
into microphones
and
here.
into microphones. But they have, it's always been, since the 40s, they've been studying mind control and how to control people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's 2020.
Yeah, imagine.
They've got it down to a science.
Oh, I'm sure.
And you
they
Oh,
sit,
yeah.
Alexa.
if you sit far enough back and you watch it, you can just watch it happening. How it's controlled for a reason, and they have you all chiming in to
Yeah. And when you see how they do some of these things, you can kind of predict
Yeah.
what's coming next in a general way, anyway.
Well, you said that they put it right in front of our face.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, like the Simpsons cartoons predicts a lot ahead of time.
Yeah.
Ebola, 9/11, and what was the other one?
I definitely want to look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
even that Trump would be president, but that was, I think, back in the 80s they predicted that, or 2009, I think it was.
Really?
They had a it's so strange. They had a gentleman, an older gentleman that was on, and he had predicted every president that was before they were even in office who was going to be in.
Now,
And he predicted Obama.
Who was
and,
that?
So-
again, I think he passed away. I
Okay.
can't remember his name. but-
naturally.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, but he just happened to know that these people were lined up to be president.
So he.
So when we think that, we actually put him there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, the right wing and the left wing belong to the same bird.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, me too. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And another tactic is making draconian laws when people are in a state of shock, like after 9/11,
Yeah.
with the Patriot Act, and I remember Bush coming on saying the next day, "The world has changed forever. Now we will be fighting terrorism forever." And of course, that gives them the opportunity to pick any boogeyman from anywhere,
From
whether he's
anywhere.
real or not,
Right.
and blame it on that. And then isolation is a tactic.
Which is what we're going
Yeah.
through now.
Right.
Yeah.
And playing on people's emotions. I won't say what I was. Some people seem to be more susceptible to emotional tactics that they use, like
Well, you see it in advertising all the time. I mean, I know anytime that
Yeah.
commercial comes up for ASPCA,
oh, that kind of thing.
oh
yeah.
my God, I have to immediately, where's the clicker? I gotta get that off.
I know.
You
Oh
know?
yeah.
And it definitely plays on your
That's
emotions.
a good example
Yeah,
of
or St. Jude's
trying to sell
Hospital,
something.
or
yeah.
you know, it's like, what kind of person am I that
Or-
I'm not, you know, writing that check out right now? You know?
Even, you know, for government programs, they play on people's emotions to say, well, you know, and lots of times the people do need help because the government has caused the problem in the first place, poverty and things like that. But the more that we don't look for the main cause and we allow more government programs to be made, we're going to be controlled more by them. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to get to the root of why are there so many people needing government programs? Is it because we're given wrong health information? You know, is it because we're being poisoned by certain products that we're not being told about? You know, what's the root cause?
Mm-hmm.
Same with like autism and things like that. You know, the people who have autistic children are looking more into it, but the others are just like, okay, well, we got to deal with them and treat them, but what's the cause? That's just
Exactly.
so. And then they use valid issues like women's lib, for example. Supposedly the Rockefellers said that they and the CIA funded women's lib. There's a lot of good reasons why, you know, women should have the right to vote. We should get equal pay if we do an equal job and things like that. But they're doing it. They go further with it. They use that valid issue to make it so they reach their goals, like taxes from both sides of the family, separating the children from the parents, and
Kids having to go to
more
daycare
divorces.
because mom and dad are both working.
Stresses the family unit.
Oh, we've definitely seen families change over the years.
Yeah. So that's where they can play on our emotions too, by using valid issues, but then going further to use their own goals. Problem, reaction, solution, where they cause the problem, and then they seed their solution into the media so that the people think it's their solution, and then we clamor for it, which
Like,
makes
can you
their
give us,
job
can you
much
give us an
easier.
example of
Well, maybe vaccines, maybe. They may seed or exaggerate an illness, or they may biological warfare, genetic engineering, or just wrong advice, and then they say, okay, now we need vaccines because, you know, we're all so ill.
right?
That might not be the best.
Well, now what they're talking about is, you know, are people even going to take the vaccines that they're hopefully going to be coming out with real soon?
They're going to demand it.
Probably.
Seriously, they're supposed to demand it actually, where they eventually they knock on your door
Or
and say, yeah.
Or we're
Or
not
it
going to
could
be able
be-
to travel
right.
anymore, or go to school, or,
Or
do
go to
this,
the
or do that if we haven't had a
doctor,
vaccine.
It's pretty-
yeah, I think that they've been, well, they've had the technology for a while now to do distant doctor visits, but that hasn't been on the market yet. And I think it's like with 9/11 when they had all the naked body scanners available already ahead of time, you know, to put into place for more surveillance. You know, they didn't just invent that after 9/11 so that it's there right away. And
Amazing, isn't it?
yeah.
It's like if you look at an example like the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was written before 2000,
Okay,
right?
that's an
Before
example.
9/11, it was already written. And it was sitting there waiting for them to put it into action.
Really?
Yeah. And do you know who wrote that, by the way?
No.
The Patriot Act? Joe Biden.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, he did.
All right, so tell
Yeah.
everybody what the
So-
Patriot Act is, because not everybody's
Yeah,
going
the
to know what the
details.
The
Patriot.
Patriot Act, basically, if you look at the Patriot Act, basically it's taking it. You look at the Constitution, and it's basically taking those rights away from you. It's basically what it's
Okay,
doing. It's
so-
stripping you of those rights, and basically allowing the government to listen to all of your phone calls. The same thing that Snowden went in for. Had said it was happening.
Snowden. Okay.
Edward Snowden and stuff like that. It's like these things are already lined up to happen, and they know that.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting to actually make it happen.
Right.
There was
They're looking for a reason.
Yeah, there was
They
a.
caused
they're
the
creating a
problem.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a document, and I can't remember what it's called. I should have researched it before I sat here, but it was a document looking at how our country could control the world.
Oh.
And the way to control the world, basically, they said you have to be. They had like this was back in Bush's era with that whole crew, and they were basically sitting on this board, and the board basically said, these are the things we have to do. We have to get in this country, in this country, in this country, in this country, and take over all these countries, and we can kind of control the world from this point of view. And the thing about that was that they had said that, and they were saying, well, for that to happen, it's going to take years before we can actually make that happen, unless there's a major catastrophe like Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
9/11 happened. Everything came in.
Bing,
We're
bang,
in,
boom.
and
Everything's
all those
on its
countries that they named, we're in every single one of them right now.
But then I get confused as to, is it communist infiltration into our government or globalist infiltration, or because the way I kind of view it, I could be wrong, is that it's not necessarily us in charge. It's more like they're leveling us to the level of all the other countries for global government. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought with how it's being orchestrated and why. Yeah.
Right. We can't be sure.
Yeah.
You know, you can only speculate, which is why conspiracy analysts or theorists are important to have around, because the world is run on conspiracies. And all you're doing is questioning what you're being told, and that's
Right,
democratic, right? Is that the right
but in
word?
this day and
or,
age, they look at conspiracy theorists like they're a bunch of whack jobs.
well, intentionally they've been labeled like that,
Right.
because if you had certain
Because
goals,
we're just supposed to just take it, whatever you say, yeah, we'll do it. Okay.
yeah,
We're not supposed to question anything.
crazy.
I think if you look back, if you ask, as I had an opportunity to work with students, and I asked them, so what makes it something a conspiracy? And they're all like, well, that means crazy people. That means people that are whack job. And that's kind of what they think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, well, where did conspiracy, the whole word conspiracy, come into play? And no one obviously they don't know because they're very young. But if you go back in history, it was John F. Kennedy's assassination. And when he was assassinated, that's when they started to use the word, it's a conspiracy. And everybody's talking about conspiracies.
Yes.
And everyone, if you believe that, you're a whack job. And they kept going off and all that whole conspiracy thing.
Okay, that's
If
where
you
it
go
started.
by definition, conspiracy means when one or more people, two people, basically conspire to do something wrong.
Yeah.
That's all it means. So that means 9/11, all those things are all conspiracies. If there's more than one plane, it's a conspiracy.
Okay.
Right? So, but everybody's like, oh my God, don't say that. Don't say conspiracy. Don't use that word.
Right.
Actually, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
More than one person planned that, so therefore it's a conspiracy.
And you'll notice even on the mainstream media sometimes they'll say the word this conspiracy, but they're labeling it, so it's okay.
Right. So it's okay.
Right. So again, like, see, don't buy this. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's played. But once again, they've been studying it since the 40s, so they know how to use it.
So
So what would you say is the Lyme conspiracy then?
well, some people think that it was created or let loose on Plum Island, and
Yeah,
that's
that's what I've
why
heard.
the bird flies straight across to Lyme, Connecticut.
See, I heard it was a deer.
Oh, could be
That-
a deer
that
too.
deer
you
can
don't
swim,
know.
and they swim over there.
Or they
and
were field testing. They have to field test pathogens to see if they work
right.
in real life situations.
So do you think it was an accident that Lyme got out?
Not really, because of the way they're treating it. They're letting it go through the population with bad
Because it
testing.
started in Lyme,
and,
Connecticut.
and an interesting thing is that Lou Gehrig used to summer there.
Oh, really?
ALS. And
Yeah,
there
I
was
could
one
see-
doctor, Dr. I can't think of his name. Mertz or something like that. He was diagnosed with late stage ALS, and I guess he finally figured out it could be Lyme, and he treated himself and he got better.
Really?
And so, yeah, a lot of people with MS, lupus, Parkinson's. I'm not saying it's the main cause of all of them, but in a lot of them, they're playing a role. And when they were treated
Look
with
at
antibiotics,
that actor from The Star Is Born, the original guy who was in it. What was his name? Who played with Chris Christopherson.
oh yes,
They thought he had dementia.
yeah, right,
And then they tested him for Lyme, and he had full-blown Lyme,
and then
and now
Back to
he's
the Future
okay.
guy. What was his name?
Back to the Future.
He
The
had-
young one,
Huh?
younger.
His is Parkinson's.
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox.
Right. and he had Lyme at one point.
Oh, did he really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So, I don't know. But another tactic they use is constant change. And if you'll see with what's going on now, first
Oh my God.
Fauci says that don't wear the mask, they don't do anything, maybe stop a droplet or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then he says you must wear a mask. Then with all this school stuff, kids going in and one person tests positive, which could just be stray little pieces of DNA if they're doing a PCR test, which could be dead, nothing alive that you could even catch, and
Mhm.
they close the schools or they,
Well, we're running around like chickens with our head cut off.
and that, I think that's intentional.
Yeah. We're talking about the pandemic. It's 2020 right now.
Yeah.
Just in case somebody picks this up.
Somebody says, what are they talking
yeah,
about?
what the hell are they talking about?
So, yeah, and disrupting routines. Of course, everybody's,
Which is,
yeah.
of course, happening right now.
Uncertainty. Well, the poor people that don't know if they'll ever work again.
I know.
So when you say they, who are we talking about?
I say the
What do you
globalists, the
what do you
world
think?
financiers.
Okay.
Which may be, I don't know, Rothschilds, Rockefellers,
So the
Gateses,
1%, the 1%
Yeah.
who pretty much run
and
our
a lot
world.
of names we don't know, probably, that don't want to be known so that nobody can actually get to it and disrupt it.
Yeah. What was that movie that we saw together with the Procter & Gamble guy? That was actually pretty...
Thrive.
Thrive. That was good. That
Yeah.
kind of talked about all that.
Talk about it all. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Did you ever see that?
I think I saw part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the main things, I think, is controlled opposition, which is,
Give us an example.
okay, I won't say names of organizations, but I'll...
Put them right out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can do it. It doesn't matter.
Well, if
Yeah,
people
really.
know the tactics and they learn the tactics, then they can see this for themselves, and nobody has to,
Exactly.
pinpoint, because, you could be wrong, and you don't want to defame anybody, but people could avoid from joining such or supporting certain organizations if they themselves saw that there might be something wrong with it.
Right, right.
There was a Lyme foundation that started things, and they had a journal going, and they had conferences, and they were really helping the people out, trying to further research that really went somewhere. And then another group was formed, and which seemed to sabotage everything. So we suspect that might be controlled opposition, even though they do give people good information on testing and doctors and things like that. They don't do, for instance, they'll say, let's give more money to the CDC for researching into Lyme. But if you really have followed things, you'd know that the CDC is blocking, they say there's no such thing as chronic Lyme. So why would you want to give more money to them?
Right.
So it's disrupting other groups, controlled opposition could be, Plus, it's also making you run around in circles. Maybe having protests and signing petitions, but nothing ever really happens.
Right.
You can form a task group, and you can have certain leaders invade into that are supposed to be on our side, but really aren't.
Right.
And then they kind of just send things off into la-la land. And
Well, kind of like what we're seeing with the pandemic, with that, the president's task group that's pretty much just, poof, it's gone now. They're a bunch of idiots.
well, I
That's
don't
what
know
they-
the
that's what he
details
said.
of that, so I can't say if it was.
Well, it's funny how we go along with things. It's like I heard someone in a different podcast. I heard someone talking about that, and they were just saying, so for example, how did Bill Gates become a doctor?
Yeah.
And is telling us what his expertise is. When did he become an expert in this?
Well, he's
You-
probably surrounded himself with experts. He's got the money.
Possibly.
He's got the money.
Correct. So, but what makes him, so you got Fauci, who's basically been doing this for his whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got some guy who's never done anything like that at all,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's up to telling people, and we just kind of go along with it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry for forgetting.
Please. Yeah.
A technocracy, because of what you're saying, is what they
What's
say
it
is
called?
coming.
Technocracy?
A technocracy, and I used to think that just meant a government based on technology.
Okay.
But actually, I guess what it means is that instead of having your elected leaders guide you and do things, you're going by the experts in technology, and they're not elected by us.
Right.
So that's not really good.
Well, they
I
were
mean,
going
even
by
though
they
we're-
were going by that at the beginning, and then they seemed to shoot it all down.
Which the tech.
I'm talking about Trump with his task
Oh.
force.
Yeah.
It was all about them for about a month, and then
But
one by one.
I wonder,
they're gone.
if I think a lot of it's an act to make us think that we have a choice. This is just a personal opinion, but I think that Trump and Biden are playing their roles
Mm-hmm.
because that's controlled opposition. If you're the globalist financiers and you want to have a certain goal, you're going to want to fund both sides, right?
Right.
And so no matter which one you pick, you might get there a little differently, but it's going to be the same solution, same goal.
It's the same tactic we've been using throughout our history. If you look at our history, it's the exact same tactic.
Yeah,
We've
and we
been
haven't
using-
learned from it, I
When
guess.
you look at, if you go back to World War II, okay, so World War One happened first. Germany got wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
They're broke. How does Hitler rise into power? You need money.
Right.
Where'd the money come from?
Okay.
We funded him.
Oh, right.
We funded him.
Well, and then
So
Ford.
basically,
Remember
we played.
Ford?
Yes.
Was it the Bushes?
All
So
the tanks
basically, yeah.
were made
Yeah.
by
Bush
Ford.
and the
The
other
Rockefellers or the
Bush and the guys that were in for what's the name of their CIA basically.
okay, well Bush.
Basically the CIA. Yeah, well, yeah, Bush, but there was
So the Republicans
yeah, I can't think of his
and the
name.
Democrats are both working towards world government.
Yeah, so
So I don't know what the solution now is except to understand their tactics and their goals, and to whether we need a whole disruption of everything. That's what they're trying to do to bring in their new system, probably a financial reset with a digital currency.
Well, a reset would be the election, and having us believe that we really have power.
it makes you
Yeah.
it makes you believe that, and then you think, oh,
Yeah,
well, I put the other person in, then things are going to change.
right.
Things are going to be exactly the same.
Because it all happened under him.
Yeah.
But then the Republicans say, well, that's because they don't, they're trying to keep the President, Trump, from being president again. But that's why they say that they caused the COVID during his reign. But I don't think that's true. It would have happened,
What the
you
hell
know.
knows?
Well, Fauci said in 2017 that during Trump's, what do you call it, not reign?
His
Rain.
show, his,
Yeah.
Oh, Rain.
his reality
Rain.
TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there would be a surprise pandemic. I heard him say it. I saw the video.
What,
of him.
Fauci said this at
that
the
in
beginning of Trump's-
2017, Yeah.
rain.
Nuclear rain's what it is.
So
I never even heard of Fauci
I know, not before,
before
this.
this.
No.
Never heard of him. Interesting.
It's
So
the whole follow the money thing.
yeah,
If you really look at who's financially gaining from all this,
it's all a big
But
company.
that's not in the news, right?
it's not on the
It's
no,
Walmart,
never
it's
on the news.
Amazon.
It's like when they
it's-
had
And-
it's like when they had when 9/11 happened, and they said, "Oh my gosh, a bunch of people on the stock market before it happened bet that these airlines were going to go under." So they made millions and
yeah.
billions of dollars. Who are they? Oh, we can't tell you who they are.
Yeah.
You know what that makes me think of? Weather warfare and how they bet on the weather. Weather derivatives. If you know what the weather's going to be, you can make out really good. And we have the technology
Yeah.
to
Is the tech-
steer
is the tech-
hurricanes
Is
and
that
cause
the
droughts.
HARP? Is that the HARP?
Well, HARP plays a role, I guess.
What does
but
HARP mean again?
a rural, I don't know, do you know?
I'm not sure.
No.
But I thought it was some
But
weather
there's
machine
more
in
of them
Alaska
It's a
around
weather
the
or
machine.
world.
something.
It is a
they say.
weather
There's
machine.
other ones too.
It is a weather machine, basically. Yes.
And then there's the directed energy weapons. I don't know if they come from satellites or from airplane jets or what they do, but
So
some people
causing,
think the
causing fires in
yeah.
California.
And heating up the jet stream. And what's the one in the ocean? The stream in the ocean. It heats that up and can. I don't know if it can actually cause the hurricanes or if it can accentuate them. So it's all happening together, and we have to look at the big picture, right?
And it's hard. It's hard for us when we look at things that are happening. You see them on TV. You think, oh, it's on TV. It must really happen.
Yeah.
But how it's controlled is what's happening on TV. It's filmed, so it's it's not really actual. Just like any movie that you watch.
Right.
Wag the
You know?
dog. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, if you really
Gotta see
if you
that.
really
What's that?
watch
Wag
how
the
it's
dog.
done.
Oh, I saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
If you really watch how it's done, I can give you a great example. Go back to the Kennedy assassination, and you look at Oswald when he got shot.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it ahead of him walking out, it's like a movie set.
Yeah.
Everyone is standing in a certain spot and they're waiting. They're
Yeah.
just standing around. The reporters are all standing around watching. It's all cops, right
Yeah.
down there.
Interesting.
Right,
Yeah.
and if you're sitting there and you watch it further enough back, you don't watch the actual moment when he walks out. Watch before that. So
Well, it's all choreographed.
everybody's sitting in one spot.
I thought I shut that off.
Yeah, that's them calling right now. They're saying, "Tell
Nobody
him to shut up."
off. Shut Ringer off.
Um,
Jeez. I never get phone calls.
But what happens is, so they're all sitting in one spot. All the reporters are waiting, and you hear a car horn go honk honk, and as soon as the honk honks, everybody starts moving.
Oh, so it was.
And they're
a
like,
clue?
"Oh no,
Cue?
not go
Oh.
back to your spots." They go back to their spots.
Really?
Oswald walks out, honk honk, boom. Everybody reacts.
That's crazy.
It was a movie. It's like a movie set.
Yeah.
It's a movie set. And we all believe, oh, it happened live on TV. That's how you get played.
And aren't a
It's
lot
all
of these
illusion.
events corresponding with drills?
Yeah.
Like there's drills like with 9/11, right? Weren't they the jets called down or something?
All of our jets were all sent away from New York
Okay.
to simulate an attack from somewhere else. So they're all leaving that area of New York.
Now
Yeah.
there was a
Which is-
drill right
which is
before
drill.
Sandy Hook too.
Well, the funny thing, the crazy part about 9/11 again is that, so when you have a disaster, who comes in? What's the
FEMA?
FEMA. FEMA was there the day before, already set up, before 9/11 happened. They
Well,
were
kinda
they,
like the
they were already
Sandy
they
Hook
were,
then.
they were already in town.
Yeah, there was
And
that.
they were
Isn't
running
that convenient?
they were running a drill in
And the
in
Boston
New York.
Marathon too. Supposedly, they were certain segment was told it was going to be there was a drill going on too.
Really? Or just maybe that's protocol? Whenever there's some kind of event? Who
Well,
knows?
it makes it easier for them to do somehow. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly.
Huh.
And people just they think that they're not really hearing what they're hearing. You don't believe what you hear anymore. You just kind of take it for granted. But if you sit and watch like the coverage of, I'm going to go back to 9/11 again. You watch the coverage of the police are walking down the street at about 4 o'clock saying that building's going to go down next.
Oh.
Telling everybody, get away from that building. It's going to go
Wow.
down. How do they know it's going to go down?
Yeah.
In like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so obvious.
How do they know?
I know.
How, they knew. So how did they know?
I mean, we've all seen real demolitions
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
TV.
it looks just like that.
Justified.
Justified.
Crazy.
Yep.
God, we could go on and on
I
talking
know.
about that. So how did you get into, so I noticed, so one of your blogs is The Conspiracy Analyst.
Right.
So tell us how you got into that.
Well, the same reasons. And then, with the weather disasters, my mother had taken two articles out of the Asheville Times in 1980 something. And it was about weather warfare and how we had the capabilities back then, and so did Russia. And so I watched events as they were happening, and I would correlate it with that, and I would look up what technologies we had, and even the History Channel had a show, or was it? It was the History Channel on weather warfare, and it's out there, and hurricanes that turn around and come back, or that stall right over a target area.
I think we just had a storm that stalled somewhere, that it was moving at like
There's so many, you
1
can't
mile
keep
an hour
track.
with all that dumping all that rain. That was over the summer.
And what I noticed was when Oklahoma and those states down in there were getting hit repeatedly with tornadoes, I said, I'm going to look up each state in conjunction with the word Agenda 21. So
Yeah,
each
you're gonna have
time
to tell us what Agenda 21 is.
it's a global initiative that all countries have to follow to reduce the population, it's sustainable development basically, and to eventually do away with private land ownership, and to move people,
Into the cities.
and to rewild most of the United States. I don't know about
Well, they're
how
doing a good
much of
job
the
out in
other-
California.
Right.
And now Colorado
People aren't going
is
to be
added
able to
to the list.
afford the insurance to move back into certain areas,
Right.
and I think that's intentional.
You always hear people, oh, we're going to rebuild, but it probably never happens in most cases.
Yeah,
They think that's their dream.
I know. So I forget what
All right,
where
now,
I was going with that, but
where were we going with that? Come on, Larry.
But no, because you were saying before about the weather and stuff like that, and the real big one that everybody just kind of glosses over was 9/11 once again. I keep going back to that one.
well, you know a lot about that one.
Yeah, Hurricane Aaron came up from Florida.
Oh, I
It
remember.
was coming all the way up the coast, and they were tracking it and
Remember
tracking and tracking
You
it.
remembered that?
No, well, vaguely something.
They were tracking it on the day of 9/11. That morning was a sunny, beautiful day, and they had all the newscasters talking about the news. No one ever said anything about the weather. The storm was as big as Sandy, as it was coming up, and they never mentioned it. It comes up to New York City, and then went right out to sea.
Okay.
90-degree angle right out to sea.
I thought I remembered something.
What time of day did it come right up?
That morning, and
And
it
I-
left right out to sea.
I remember that.
It stopped at New York and turned and went right out to 90-degree angle right out to sea. And they never
I wasn't
mentioned
watching news
they
back
never
then.
mentioned it.
I was not watching.
So
any
when you
news
had
then.
mentioned like when they were talking about energy weapons, and there people were saying, "Well, that couldn't happen. There's no way it couldn't happen because we've never seen it before."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we
We've
have
never-
a lot
we've
of
never-
new
we've
ones,
never
I
seen it
think.
before.
Well, not
so
only
then
that,
you don't
is
know
you
it.
just don't think that our government would do something like that. What?
You
Nothing.
don't.
That's what's
Say that
looking-
again.
Well,
Slowly.
most people don't. Most people don't believe that.
Yeah, I know. It's strange.
I mean,
I think it's
everything is
strange.
new,
We're
one
so
of a
busy.
kind,
They're keeping us. We're so busy with our work and our families.
and all these little things in the news are diverting us from the main things that they're doing.
I mean, most people sit down and watch a half-hour news, and bing, bang, boom, that's it. You know, and they take.
Well, it's
they-
good
Yeah,
not
they
to
just
watch
take that
too
little,
much
those
of
little
it.
tidbits, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Interesting. But I wouldn't put it past. You couldn't put it. You can't put it past it's amazing how people will say, our government wouldn't kill 3,000 people of our own people. Right? I said, no, we kill millions of people without batting an eye.
And I wouldn't even categorize it as our own government.
Yeah,
I think it's just like
Millions
globalists.
of people, you mean bombing.
Yeah,
Bombing other countries.
we bomb like it's like and wipe out people like they're ants.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, you wouldn't kill 3,000 people, really?
Well,
Why?
don't they try to get the women and children out of there, out of the
No,
way?
not always. And they're not our parents. They don't love
No.
us. The government is a machine.
No.
It's a globalist at this point, and the corporations have no limits on them, so they are the government, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so the people who want more government programs, especially health care, they're asking for more control by the corporations over them. But they've made it so we need it. That's the part where I feel bad for the people who need it, because it's been created that they need it. But then we're stuck in it until we expose it maybe and try to do more naturally and maybe not get vaccines that may be, overactivating our immune systems unnaturally with autoimmune diseases. And so there again, if we know the tactics.
Now, do you have to, are they starting to pump you to get the flu shot and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, they've been trying that for a long time.
Are you going to get it?
No.
Good boy.
It's a weird thing because if you look at the flu shot and you do enough research on your own about the flu shot, it causes kidney failure.
Oh my God.
Does it really?
Yes, it's bad for your kidneys.
It
So I'm
might
saying
even say
so.
that in the insert, right?
Yeah. So
Why do people
Why do you want me
run
to get a
and
flu shot?
religiously get? I talk to all my clients about, you're getting the flu. They always ask me, if the vaccine comes out, are you going to get it? I'm like, no.
because it's flu season.
Yeah, I know.
That's
This is
what-
the way
that's
they
what
program
call
us.
it. It's called flu season, so therefore
Exactly.
you do it.
But they look down at you, like my mother. Every year, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get your flu shot? Did you get your flu shot? No, I'm not getting the flu shot. Oh,
Peter Doshi, who went to Harvard, he wrote an article in Harper's Magazine about marketing the flu vaccine, and he showed an actual PowerPoint presentation by the CDC that listed all the tactics to use to get people to get a vaccine, and one was saying this is the worst year ever. Another was saying there are shortages. Another
Oh,
was
yeah, that's a
showing
big one.
long lines.
yeah.
And saying, oh, this group will maybe get it first because they're most important.
Well,
things like
and now
that.
they're saying you better get it because you don't want to get the flu, and but did you hear that there was one case of somebody that got the flu and the coronavirus?
Well,
So stay tuned.
I think it's important to know that there was a Department of Defense study, I think it was back in 2017, that showed in the military that those who got the flu vaccine were 36% more likely to get coronaviruses. And there was another virus, I can't even pronounce it. But so what do they do with the elderly? They give them extra heavy-duty doses.
Yeah, did you see
Is
that
that
one?
why they're all dying in the convalescent homes?
Yeah, they're giving them double doses of the flu shot this year.
And they have been, I think, last year too.
I stop at the pharmacy and they're lined up for the flu shot. I can't believe it.
Oh
You get
yeah.
the flu shot? You get the flu shot? I was like, my goodness, folks, really?
Hopefully,
Yeah.
there's not supposed to
Well-
be anything live in it, but hopefully there isn't. Because sometimes you worry about that being people shedding the vaccines, because I think it's with measles vaccines, you can shed it, and certain other ones to other people.
Well, I thought the coronavirus you can shed.
With a vaccine, or you mean just by...
Oh, you're talking about the vaccine. Okay.
But I think, I don't know as I believe that healthy person thing, shedding it, I don't know.
Who the hell knows what to believe? So, but your doctors are pushing it on you, telling you should get it.
Yeah. They've been doing it for years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should get it.
Well, did you
You
ever
get
say, it's saying that it causes kidney
I
disease?
tell them that and they just, kind of brush it over. Well, you should get it.
That's their,
That makes
the
no sense at
medical
all.
people are so, it's their identity. you go to school to be a doctor
They're
or
sheeple.
a nurse.
They just kind of follow what they're told,
Well,
and they don't want to
there
go
are
against
a lot of
any of it.
good-hearted people that are trying to help, and
No, I
they
know.
believe
They're
that it'll help.
good-hearted. They're good-hearted people. They're doing what's right. It's what they were taught.
Right.
It's what
Exactly.
they were taught in school.
And who
Right.
funds the
Unfortunately,
schools?
Who funds the school? The pharmaceutical industry.
Right, and the medical
So
conferences.
they teach
and
you
the
what they
textbooks.
want you to know,
Right.
Yeah.
and you follow suit. That's it. We
Right.
just follow suit.
Like,
Well, I think we've covered just about every conspiracy theory.
oh my god. Alrighty. And then, okay, so you've got the one more blog
Oh,
that you were talking about, the food.
Freedom Revolution. No, did we
Food.
already talk about that? Well, Lime blog, wasn't it?
So you were talking about growing food.
Yeah, I already said that.
You did that. You did.
So it's just the three: the Lime blog, the Conspiracy Analyst, and the Food Freedom one that talks
Now,
about politics of food, like with raw milk, for example. How,
Yeah, talk to us a little about that, because that always, you always pull me in with all that stuff. She does freeze drying, she does, what do you do? The thing with the sauerkraut.
fermenting.
She's into ferment. You go
It's
over. You
fun.
go over to her house, and it's like she's got a lab set up in her kitchen.
Well, it's all about that.
Yeah, which I think is cool.
Well, in the raw milk, I have one article called "Please Pass the Moonshine," because a lot of people have to come from out of state in order to legally buy raw milk.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to have it inspected, and in Connecticut it has to be inspected, and you can buy it at farmers markets or at the farm. But I think you can get
you
it
get
in
it at
health food stores. Yes.
And we should be drinking whole milk, not just
Right, because if you
not
drink
skim milk or any of that
you're
stuff.
getting pure sugar, where the fat is meant to be in there. It helps you absorb the vitamins A and D
Mhm.
and the calcium, and all the enzymes are destroyed when you heat it, which also helps you digest the milk. So a lot of people that have allergy problems or gastrointestinal problems drinking milk do better with raw milk. I do, because I found that, especially if you make kefir or yogurt out of it, it's already even more digested, and the good bacteria, of course, is great for
Right.
you. And people have gotten sick from regular pasteurized milk after it's been infected with bacteria after the fact.
Hmm.
But some say that with the raw milk, it's got its own antibiotics in it to some extent. It can get contaminated like any food. You see meat and spinach and all these other foods being, scares in the media, and then they have to recall it.
Right.
So it's not any more prevalent with the milk.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny because the milk in this country, in the United States, is there's a hormone that's put in it that's not in any other country. It's only in our country.
Is it the female hormone?
No, it's like creatine.
It's-
I can't
Creatine.
remember what it's called, but what it is, there was a news station
Oh.
that tried to basically expose it. They were supposed to find. They're called the investigators. The show never made the air. They aired it. They showed highlights of it, and then when they looked at the article, it was like they were talking about milk, and that we were putting these hormones in it
Growth
that
to produce more milk?
basically causes cancer.
Oh,
So
Right.
they were like, well, we should expose that. And they threw the two people who were doing the investigation, they fired them, they got rid of them,
oh.
and they buried the story. And we're still doing it.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I had to write a book review for the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation on cell phones, and it was this man that was hired by the cell phone industry to do some studies to see if it was dangerous at all, and he found that it heated up the brain if you held it to your ear, and
Like brain tumors,
yeah,
right?
brain tumors, especially children, should never use it against their ear because they're all smaller and thinner, and it affects them even
Right.
worse. And so when he had that conclusion, the cell phone industry fired him and wouldn't publish, So he wrote the book. I forget what the name of it is now, but
Wow.
Well, the conclusion of the case, the two people that were the
You're talking
reporters.
back to the milk.
Back to the milk
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, because it's really important that they said this. They basically got fired. They couldn't find a way to recover from it, so they took it to our Supreme Court, and
Okay.
they went to trial. At the end of the trial, the Supreme Court says, as our law, all right, it's
Yeah.
on the books.
Yeah.
Anything that you see it's on the news does not have to be true.
Really?
End of case. Yeah, you can say anything you want.
I remember.
It does not have
yes.
to be true.
Yeah.
Well, we're
So
finding
people
that out.
who
firsthand.
sit and watch the news like they're watching gospel.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, and if it's corporate owned, they're going to only air what
What they
benefits
want.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Exactly.
That's such a fact. It's amazing.
But that's called a conspiracy.
Yeah, which is fine, but not with the tone that they give it.
Yeah.
Oh,
They say it
my
nicely.
God.
They do. Say it very nicely.
Ay, ay, ay.
I wonder how the Times.
Why, are you running
Do
out of
you-
things to
Well,
say?
no, I'm
Margie?
just
Do you-
saying that the cell
do you-
phone we don't know
Do
how
you get a
long.
lot of flack from
How's it going?
your blogs?
Well, when I'm on Twitter, I haven't done too much on the blogs lately. I think I'll start writing more. I've been writing more on, Facebook and Twitter because it's more media and
Right.
shorter and easier, but I
Right.
really should be doing more on the blogs. But the things on my blogs I think are kind of timeless. The tactics, the weather stuff, and all that kind of thing. What was the question originally?
Do you get a lot of flack
Oh,
from?
Well, like on Twitter, I noticed that people, when I write about Lyme, there'll be a certain person who comes in and keeps badgering, and then there'll be another person coming in to help them. And I asked some other people, and I had a lot of British followers, and they say that, what's the name of it, 77th Brigade, and you look that up, and it's a whole military thing in England that monitors social media and makes the outcome what they want it to be, fighting the things they don't want out there.
Right.
And so it happened with that, and it happened with weather warfare, and there was something else. But I haven't gotten any threats or anything like that, because I'm general, and the information is out there,
Yeah.
a lot of it. I try not to be hateful about it, because there's no need for that, really.
Right.
You're just trying to help, even the people who are involved. Sometimes, it might sound not right, but need understanding and things presented to them in a certain way, because they're not totally evil, I don't think.
Well, it's you have to look at when you try to look at the bigger picture. One of the things that is out there is everybody's really like frightened by all the riots and all the stuff that's going on, the rebelling, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't realize is those people that are doing the rebelling and fighting and creating all the mess out there aren't regular people.
They're
Those
hired.
are groups.
Right.
They're hired to
Yep.
do that.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
job is to go out and to stir that up.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening in
With the
Portland.
Black Lives Matter.
in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Portland.
Well, that was another
Yeah,
thing
they're-
I was thinking about, the Black Lives Matter and the using legitimate issues and using people's emotions to defund the police. I question what really happened with that guy. Who would stand there
Who, George
killing
Foreman?
somebody? Yeah. While he's being filmed, and another cop standing by just letting it happen, and while they're being
I
filmed.
know.
Something's not right with that. I mean, it's a legitimate issue, but you see what
Yeah,
I'm
it's definitely
saying?
a legitimate issue, but it's hard to believe that a cop would allow himself to be in that kind of position.
And then the whole thing is global, just about the Black Lives Matter. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But it's not a grassroots thing, I don't believe. It's like all these other things, women's lib. And
Well,
But it's part
they
of
said
the-
that all started with that George Soros. Are you the one that told me about George
No.
Soros?
I'm not.
I wasn't, because you keep asking me about the guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't
remember who the heck
A
told me,
lot
but
of
he was
Republicans
supposedly the one
seem to
behind
know
this.
about him.
But the bottom line is being the black
It's
guy
not
here.
just, I know.
Being the black guy here.
What are you going to tell us, Larry?
I mean, because if you think about it, it's about separation.
Right, they're trying to divide us,
They
too.
want to divide, and
Right.
Black Lives Matter just rolls right into that divide.
Using the emotions.
Instead of
and-
saying
yeah.
all lives matter, because all
Right.
lives should matter.
Right.
They're gonna say, well, no, Black Lives Matter. That separates you from everybody else,
Right.
and then everybody's mad at you because They're saying, well, don't our lives matter? And
Yeah, right.
now you have a separate.
Exactly.
Exactly what you wanted
Yeah.
by creating that whole entire thing.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
really crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But once again, they've been doing this since the 40s. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like infiltrating groups. That's what they do.
Right.
How do you separate them?
I know. And when you form a group, how you have to know their tactics. You have to know the subtle signs of infiltrators, I guess, in order to avoid that.
You go back to the 60s and you watched it happen. You had Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. And they had to be against each other.
Oh, okay.
They were fighting for the same thing, but you thought that they were different.
Yeah.
That they were fighting for two different sides. The violent side and the peaceful side.
Okay. Oh.
Huh.
Exactly.
So do you think they were hired, or do you think they were real?
What do you mean hired?
Sincere.
I think that they were sincere.
Okay.
Martin Luther King was assassinated because he started speaking out against the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Not because of
okay.
He started talking about what we were doing over there is inhumane,
I see.
and they were like, he's got to. That's enough.
He's got to go. Shut
That's
him
enough. Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah.
We threatened him. We tried to get him to commit suicide. We tried to do all these things. We tried to blackmail him. None of that's working. Then you have to eliminate him.
Well, talking about trying to make people commit suicide, I think a lot of this isolation and uncertainty and all this with COVID, I think they're
especially the young people.
They're doing this on purpose to, disable us in different ways. With a lack of money from no jobs,
Yeah.
Some UN, I keep forgetting his name, but he's with the UN, and he said it's the industrialized nations causing all these problems. Isn't it our goal to bring them down?
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Oh, they're doing a good job.
And it just amazes
I know
me
my
when
business is
you
slowed
watch TV and I watch people doing their YouTube videos over in Thailand and stuff, and they're all doing the same thing. They all have the partitions and the masks and the social distancing, and there's a global
And you got the fighting. As you can see, there's all that fighting going on in Paris, and it's the same as what we have here.
Yeah.
People want to control their own lives.
So we need to take things, be our own advocates, and do research ourselves.
But what if you don't have
And to
time?
document.
What if you don't have time to do research? See, I don't have time to do research.
Well, then you
guys
listen
have
to
the
the
time.
tactics, which are.
So you guys are doing the analyzing. And then
Did you write
and
down
then-
those tactics?
No, but I've got to write down those tactics. I'll take a picture of them with my cell phone.
See, the people with no time left.
But that's
you
the
have
thing.
time to decorate.
It's true. Yeah.
No, it's usually like this. Okay.
We always say that we don't have time.
Yeah.
When we do have time,
Yeah.
because everybody has the same.
All right. When I have time,
everybody
I'm too tired
has.
to
Everybody
do
has the
something
same.
like that.
Everybody has the same 24 hours a day, right? So we do.
Yeah.
But we always think we don't.
No,
Which is being busy.
Well, your brain could be tired or for that kind
but
of
it's
thing.
always. We always can make
Sure.
ourselves busy all the time.
Well,
Depending
if you
on
got a
what we have
job,
to
you
do.
have to keep yourself busy.
Yeah. Or not.
Well, what am I going to do? Research in between clients?
No. I'm not saying about the research part. I'm just saying that everybody always says we don't have time when
Yes,
we do have time.
I know.
We just do that.
It's what our priorities are.
I'm not talking about people who are working or not working.
Right.
It's just that we don't take the time to look at what's going on in the world because we don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
We're too busy.
Right.
Well,
Really?
and some people don't even understand it. Like, I have heard you talk about this, I can't even tell you how many times, and still,
And
it
some
just
of it,
blows my mind. It's
but
just
I've
like,
seen
I
you
feel like I'm...
recognizing a lot of it.
True.
It doesn't all come at once. I didn't get it all at once. I still don't have it all.
Yeah.
We're
But,
always
all right,
learning.
so has this helped your life, knowing this?
Yeah. Well, I think I make better health decisions because I don't believe that eggs are bad and butter's bad for you, like the media tells you.
And meat.
I don't get any more vaccines. That might have been what, hyperacted some of my autoimmunity in the first place with
Right.
thyroid stuff. And there's a lot of different decisions you would make, and just not to be fearful.
Right.
because
Well, if you were part
might
of the
know
herd.
a little bit
That's
more
If you were
what's
part of the herd.
Less stress.
yeah,
That's what I find.
Yeah.
I find that I have less stress because
right.
if you know what's going, if you see what's going on, you know what's going on. You kind of
And you're
understand
not
it.
surprised
Right.
either
so it
as
doesn't
much.
like flip you out or shock
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
What's today? Today's the first, second.
Second,
Second.
So tomorrow's the third, and the world's gonna be in panic.
yeah.
Oh, they've already started.
they've
They've
created
already
that
started
on
boarding
purpose,
up
too.
windows. Have you seen it?
I don't even feel it because
Yeah.
there's no stress because I
Right.
know what's going on.
Yeah,
Right.
You
it's
know,
nothing new.
no. You've seen it happen before.
Yeah,
It's nothing scary. You know, the same cries that you hear now about this president, current president. Boy, it sounded just like the way you heard when Bush was in office. Same sound. He's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah.
He's got to go.
right.
I don't think it was quite this bad.
Well,
Yeah, it
they,
was.
and anyone was saying
Actually,
everyone,
because you don't
everything's better
remember.
than Bush.
Well, I
Because you don't remember
Well,
what
I
it was
didn't
like.
watch news back then. I didn't
Back-
care.
There was
Once a reality TV show star was running for president, that's when I started watching. Isn't that sad? That's sad. I was just like, there is no
Yeah.
way that this guy is going to be. And
See,
I got
there's
roped
your
in.
point. There's
We
your
already
point.
had an
I got
actor.
roped in.
We already had an actor.
See, I wasn't watching any news back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
he
have-
knew
I-
all the linguistic programming, neuro-linguistic
Oh my gosh.
programming.
I don't
the
know
way he
anything
spoke.
about politics
Oh,
from.
I mean-
Everybody said everybody.
Trump.
No,
Yeah.
no.
He knew just how to.
Oh yeah, he was really good at
Yeah,
that.
he
But
was.
I think the whole funny thing was everybody's like the Republicans are always like Ronald Reagan was a great president. I was like he was an
He's a good
actor.
actor, yeah.
He's an actor. He
And look
played
at
the
Schwarzenegger. Is
he
that
played
his
the
name?
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
He's a governor. Was.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, he's an actor. He should be pretty
Yeah.
good at it.
We're all
That's
actors.
why they picked him.
Yeah, he
And
did
they
a good
picked
job.
Trump because of his bizarre personality.
Well, they picked him because he wasn't a politician. He wasn't a career politician.
Yeah.
That's why they picked him. Drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp.
Still draining that swamp. So, yeah. So, but I find the bigger part of that question was like, how do you live now, as opposed to before, when you just went along with everything.
Yeah,
You're always stressed out.
exactly.
Always stressed out, and always kind of like.
I have
But you
relatives that
kinda
are
get what's
really,
going
really
on.
scared of working where they're working because they're afraid of getting, COVID. I just doubt that. I don't know if that's the way it's passed. There's something else involved, and I'm not sure what it is. Whether it's the vaccines making you more susceptible, whether glutathione is supposed to be very deficient in people who get the severe form of COVID. Is it our deficiencies?
Could be.
There's a whole germ theory versus the theory that the terrain theory, that it's the terrain of your body that changes microbes into what's pathogenic. Some say to help you, but I don't know about that part. But
And then you have doctors who stand up and say, "This is what we think." Forget you doctors. You guys are out. You doctors we like. You doctors we don't like. I'm like, what? They were doctors though. This other person who's not a doctor, we're listening to him.
Well, we're
Which
seeing
makes-
that now.
Yeah, which is
They've
kind of funny.
dissolved the task force, and now they're listening to a guy that's a radiologist because he'll spew whatever Trump wants him to
Yeah.
spew,
or whatever the globalists want.
or whatever the
Yeah.
globalists want.
Yeah, it's kinda
They're on the top.
Yeah. Puppets on a string.
Yep.
Jeez. Wow. You got a lot to talk about.
I think we've covered
And we
it
will
all.
definitely have to.
Television.
Don't you think we need to have Margie back again?
Yes, we do.
We can
Well,
just
you
keep.
guys have to pick a topic.
We will pick a
because-
topic. We
We're-
just kind of
next time we're going to talk about
we've done a little
television.
dusting today.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're talking about next
Okay.
time.
What?
We're
What?
talking about television.
TV programming, you mean?
It's basically the same thing. Television.
Well, that's when we can get
TV
into the
program,
whole
yeah.
Simpsons thing.
Okay. Things
Just
like that. And the
Before we go,
movies
just
do it
say,
too.
just because you mentioned the Simpsons before, can she just say one more little thing about the Simpsons
Well,
and how they've
they
the
predicted
the
9/11.
funny television show?
Yeah, the cartoon show evidently is either psychic or they're in on the global plans. They predicted Ebola, 9/11, and Trump being president. And there may
And
have
that was
been other
that was
things.
back in the 70s, 80s.
79 was
I mean,
the
you can go
Ebola.
you can look these things
Yeah.
up on YouTube
right.
because I did.
Look up
and
The Simpsons and predictions.
yeah, and I have 10 predictions.
Oh, I gotta. Should I say about the?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes,
then
yes.
we'll wrap it
the
up.
The answer's
episode
always
called
yes.
Lisa Sachs, I think it was 1979. The mother was reading Bart a bedtime story, and she holds up the book, and it says Ebola on it. So I had learned that a lot of these videos, everything in them means something.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw 7:05 on the bedside clock next to Bart. So I looked up Ebola and 7:05, and it's the one of the treatments for Ebola.
705.
T705, I think it said.
So there's a case where they're just putting it right in front of
Yeah.
our face.
Yeah, and then supposedly with their ideology or religion or whatever, if this is true, they're sort of absolved if they let us know ahead of time what they're doing.
It's amazing. There's when I did watch TV, way back then, there was a program called 24. That was really popular.
Oh, is that with Keith
Keith Sutherland,
Keith
yeah,
Sutherland.
right.
Keith
And
Sutherland. Put your
Double light.
the sun. Yeah, don't go that way too far. There you go. Don't go too far. You'll be off the picture. There was
That's all right.
so I watched this program. We stopped watching because it got too violent. But while we were watching it, they were showing something where, Jack was doing what he was doing, and we have to shut down the whole entire city. I was like, oh, you shut down the whole entire city, and they did. They shut down this. Everybody was locked in your house, couldn't go out. And then what happens? Boston. They shut down the whole entire city.
Predictive programming.
Wait, when was that?
Right before the Boston Marathon, like about a year before that, when that was on, they shut down the entire city, lockdown.
For what reason?
Because in the TV show it was some terrorist thing.
Yeah.
But they really did it in Boston, and I was like,
What? Just for one day?
After the bombing.
Do you remember in real life? They
In
predicted
real life-
it on the TV show, kind of.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they kind of basically
predictive programming.
they basically
That's
showed
important
they
fact.
showed how it could be done,
Yeah.
and then in real life they really did it.
Wow.
This has been the same with
the guy-
pandemic.
Yeah,
and,
the guy was loose, basically. The guy that supposedly created that thing in Boston.
Oh,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
shut down the whole entire city.
I remember that.
I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
People are buying this, and
Yeah.
we do.
It was an excuse to, bring tanks in the streets and get us used to people just invading our homes and without a warrant,
Wow.
under the guise of protection,
Yeah.
for our safety. We hear that a lot now.
Wow. So, anyways, I don't remember what the message is.
Were you going to take that later?
Yeah, I'm going to do that later, but I think it was something to do with the self. But it doesn't matter. It
It'd
doesn't
be a
matter.
good message regardless.
Yeah,
so.
it's going to be a good message. We're
Stay
talking,
tuned
we're
for
talking
the
about the
message.
God message.
Yes.
And we will have Margie's blog spots on the website, which is almost done. Or it is done, and we have to view it. So it's coming soon.
Oh, great.
So hopefully this worked with the cell phones.
Hopefully it worked with the cell phones. I don't know about you guys, but I'm freezing my ass off right now. And
Sun's out. We would never know we had to be out of power.
I know. So we'll see you next time. And thank you so much
Oh, thank you
for
for having
joining
me.
us.
It was
This was
fun.
awesome.
Thank you.
And have a great day.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
See ya. Message was received on April 13th, 2019. And the name of this one is called The Self. Today I'm going to talk to you about the self, the real self that most humans do not show the world. I want each person to listen carefully when I say that the true self is hidden from others because it does not show a flattering picture of who the human really is. There is the soul who is the true self, but this true self is even hidden from the human until the human is living the life in an enlightened state of being. Humans will meet that self when true work is done. The human loves to parade the actor self for all to see and know. The true self stays hidden
because the human knows that self will not make a good impression on another human. The human realizes that this false self will hinder their life if it is shown. What the true self wants is to be like the false self or actor. There is a constant battle between the two, for the human knows who they truly are. This creates many forms of mental anguish, which humans tend to treat with medication, which hinders the human's growth because the true self is rarely examined once medication is taken. This is the problem with humanity today. Everything is superficial, and only the actor is recognized as being the whole human. I ask humans to know who their true self is. Explore it, own it, fix it, show it, love it. Allow others to know this unflattering part of the human. It is through this reveal that humans find that they all have a common thread that weaves through them, all to love and to be loved. Humans must accept who they are and love who they are. You are perfect in my eyes. I made you all in my image. You are all me. You are all my sons and daughters. You are no different than your brother Jesus. You are the same, cut out of the same cloth. Jesus is a symbol of every man, woman, and child, or being that lives. He did not die for your sins, for you have no sins. You are all perfect in my eyes. It is humans who put aside what perfection looks like. Change your perception and love your perfect self. Allow others to know your other half. Be whole. Do not judge. I love you all. This is very important for you to get in touch with this most important part of human existence. I love you all.